Yes, the recording is on. So we could do write this function. For example, this is a drive forward function. So then you can write another function. Let's say drive back. So you can say drive backward, driving backward. Then you can write another function left and right. So drive left. Then you can write another function, maybe say drive right. So these are all functions. And yeah, let me just introduce JavaScript direct to HTML, and we could just use those functions in our HTML. So I'm going to write here HTML. HTML. I'm not getting the license. Okay, there we go. This is a car drive. So I'm going to do four buttons here that will help us maybe drive forward, drive back, drive in, so that I can introduce a class better. So here we go. Start. There, our server is on. So currently we have nothing. So let me do some grid button dot button. Oh, here we go. So we have four buttons here. So these are our four buttons to drive. So I can say this one is forward, this one is backward, this one is forward, back, left, and right. And in these functions, I'm going to add some few, like in these buttons, I'm going to add the on-click listener, and for that, I'm going to say, where is that? We have the first function, that's drive forward. I do here drive forward and invoke it. Go to the next one, do on-click. I say drive backward and invoke it. I go to the next function that was drive left. On click, drive left, invoke it. Then I have another function here, drive right, and say on click, drive right, like that. So one more thing to do is to add our JavaScript here. So script with the source of ./index.js. So if we come to our browser here, we have all the four buttons, and if we open the console like this, just do that, then do this. If we go to the console, let me just get rid of some things because they are not working well, and they are going to fail most of our code. These styles here, I'm going to just delete them and then get rid of any active console logs. Yes, that's one thing to look at. If you see an error in your console and you have done nothing, just go to your JavaScript and identify any bugs or any random characters there. So if I click forward, it's saying, okay, yeah, this is a problem. This is an error with whatever I'm using to record these videos. That's the screen recorder is pushing this error here. So you can be able to see the console log here saying driving forward. If I click that one, it's going to say driving backward. Then if I say left, it's going to say driving left. If I say right, it's going to say driving right. So that's for buttons and how you do. But these are just plain functions. If I scroll down, these are plain functions. But we know we are driving a car. What if we were to group all these functions into a single thing? So into a single like room. So those rooms or those like larger um, objects holding these functions are called classes. And how do you define classes? You define a class by starting by this keyword class. So class is a term and it's a keyword. Yeah, it's a keyword. Function is a keyword also. Const, let, those are like keywords. And in JavaScript, we have built-in keywords. Yeah, we have built-in keywords. So when you are writing your variables, remember, don't use built-in keywords. I didn't introduce built-in keywords, but built-in keywords are like these ones. Like we have let, const, var, function, a class. We have none. The likes of false, true. We have is it object, object. So they are a number. So these are like built-in keywords. You can't like say let const equals to some value, or you can't say like let none equals to some value. You can't say that because these are like keywords. You can't use them that way. Let false equals to something. This one will change the meaning of false. False should be false, but now you are changing the value of false to some value. So don't keywords are generally not good. Don't use them. But I believe it's with the time that you'll understand why not use them. So we have here, I say class. I'm going to do class car. That's how you define a class. So for each class you say, you define, you just say class. Then I've started with a caps letter here or an uppercase letter, then car. Then I went direct to curly braces. I didn't do the brackets there. That's not the proper way of defining a class. A class is just class car, then curly braces. This is like the entire thing that will hold all these functions. So I'm just going to copy my functions and move them here like that. So you might notice something else. It's saying function ama ime-highlight function alafu ikaweka error. So unexpected token, a constructor method accessor or prototype was expected. Why is it not working the way we want? So sometimes it's not, when you are defining classes, it's not a must that you add this function keyword behind your functions. So in a class, you can just get rid of these function keywords like that, generally, uh, like that. Then like that. So you have defined a general class called car, then it has these methods. But how can I call these methods? How can I like use these methods to drive my car? Before we just did drive car and it just worked out of the points. I'm going to paste the functions again out here because we have referenced them here. But I want now to drive my car without like using console.logs here. I'm going to just delete this console.logs here like that. And if you look, this one's a function drive car, but we have the same drive car function here. Why does it not getting errors? If I were to save, you won't be able to see any errors. If I were to click any of the buttons, you won't be able to see any of our console.logs. So you might ask yourself, why is it not working? Why is it not working? It's because this is a class. It's like another function. Whenever you define a class, you need to initialize it. So I can just come down here and say const my car equals to new car. So, and you can see some new syntax here or something new. That is, I've used the term new then I said car with parentheses or the brackets. So that's how you invoke a class. Like now this is a class car, then my car equals to a new car. But let's see how it works. So I'm going to just console.log my car, save. So if I console.log my car, you notice it has some nothing, like it's just a car. And what you notice, it has these functions here: drive backward, drive forward, drive left, drive right. This is a function. If you look at this F here, and if you look at the definition of that function, it's saying console.log driving left. So how can I invoke these functions within my car? So whenever you define a class, to get another instance of that class, we usually use the term new, then the class name. Then with that, I'll talk about something else in a moment. So that's my car. When I want to drive forward, okay, let me save. If I click forward, nothing is happening or it's not logging out anything. How can I make it drive forward? So let me add something here. Percentage C, comma, set it that way. Yes. And okay, so let's see what will happen if I drive forward. If I want to drive forward from my function here now, I can be able to say my car dot drive forward like that. If I do that, then I can be able to invoke the function that is within the class. I save. Now if I come here and I click drive forward, you notice it's saying driving forward. I was trying to do something here. I just noticed it's not working. I believe I've not done it right, so I'll just delete it like that and avoid it for now. There we go. So if I click forward, it says driving forward here now. If I click backward, it's not like giving us any of the result. Yeah. So let me try to like just quickly search through my styling console.log. Styling console.log output using percentage C. Uh, just a moment, I'm trying to see where did I get it from. I needed to do a style and pass in the style there. Good, that's all. So I'm just going to do a style here that I used for all my console logs. So const styles equals to, let's say, color red background. This might not work. Let me add my percentage C here. So this is something you can do to your styles. Is that the right thing? Can you confirm? Oh, and how do I use it? That way, okay? Yeah, it's working. So I'm going to come to my here and remove the background like that. So if I say click going forward, it's going to say driving forward. I've changed the color to red because of this error here. Then I want to say drive backward. I can be able to do the same. Come here and call my car dot drive backward. So my car dot drive backward. Then for the rest, it's the same story. My car dot drive left like that. And the lastly, I have my car dot drive right like that. Then I'm going to just quickly add the percentage C thing there. And this one here. So if I click on backward, it's going to say driving backward, left, driving left, right, driving right. So classes can host a number of functions on their own. Like they will help you like group the same functions that you want to use together, or the same logic that you want something to have. For example, this is a car. We know a car can drive forward, left, backward, and a right. Then what if I wanted to say a car that is having its own like a new car, but it has its own like properties. For example, if you are making a game and you want to have this car have its own properties. For example, the car name. So I can come here and say uh, let name, not let name, let not that way. So what I'm going to do here is do another function called a constructor. A constructor function is like a factory of the. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. So I'm going to introduce another function here called constructor. And you might notice it has its own like coloring. It has been given its own coloring by VS Code, and it will be given its own coloring if you are using maybe Sublime Text or something else. And a constructor, it's like giving the foundation of this class. For example, for this car class, we are going to give it some foundation. For example, name equals to the car name. Let's say bwana sijuangi magari, so let me just write here Lexus. So you can say name is a built-in is a built-in keyword. That's where you can see it as like raised its eyebrows na ikaweka kalaini hapo. So let me change this one to car underscore name like that. So that's for the car name. And if I want to use the car name somewhere else, I can say Lexus is driving so my car. So I can just come here and say my car. Something we didn't talk about the other time is how to do string concatenation. I think I did ask Cosmas to introduce, and I did some introduction. Yes, how to like add or make two strings come together. So I'm going to come here and use this keyword, and I'm going to say this dot kernel like that. So my car Lexus, comma, is driving forward. So let's see whether it will do the exact thing that I've said. So if I come here, so it's saying reference error kernel is not defined. Allah, I didn't see this one coming. Why is it saying kernel is not defined? So a way of resolving this, just add another keyword here, this dot kernel equals to Lexus, like that. So if you look at our object here, so car class is an object. You can notice it's saying car name Lexus. So if I click forward, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. Why is a constructor crucial or important? So a constructor, these other methods you can do the same and just leave a class that has only just methods and logic. But I want a car that I can be able to say a new car, Lexus, new car, Toyota, new car, Nissan, sijui nini. Yeah. So how can I do that? So I want to have a dynamic class or a dynamic name for my car. So I can just come here and say a car name. Then I just come here and say instead of Lexus, this dot car name equals to now whatever will pass into the constructor or into the class when I'm initializing it. This is when I'm initializing the class. Then if I save this, I come here, it's going to say car name undefined, meaning the car name has not been defined. If I try to do that, it's going to say my car undefined is driving forward. You don't want to have undefined here. How can I resolve that? When you are initializing your class, when let's say I'm going to change this one to Lexus quickly, and whenever it appears, do that. This the manual changing are not good. So you don't know how many instances of my car are existing in your file. With the VS Code, just hit Control H. It will bring you find and replace. So I'm going to find my car and replace with Lexus. And I'm going to click either of this, yeah, replace enter or replace all, the second button hapa. So hit there and it's going to replace everything. That way, utaruka one of your instances of a specific term. So I save, come here, and it's going to say my car that, of course. Now let's give our car a name. So our car is called Lexus. Save. So it's going to say car Lexus. If I click forward, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. So how can I? So that's only for forward, but for backward, it's still saying driving backward. But I want the message to be the same. My car something is driving somewhere. So I'll just copy from here up to there and paste it huku nyuma, huku nifanye hivi. Nitoe hiyo. I think I've missed something. Yes, I did put the wrong thing there, like that. And remove these percentages here. Come here, do the same. Up to there. And driving right, do the same. I'm ready to add that, then close there like that. So if I save that and I click backward, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving backward. My car Lexus is driving left. My car Lexus is driving right. So yes, this one is working. I have been able to pass in a car name to the constructor. So the constructor takes in parameters. So this is a parameter, like a function that can take in parameters. The constructor is taking in parameters. Let's change the color of this car. Currently, we are using a specific color, that is color red, for all our cars. What if we wanted to change a new color for our car? So I'm going to say this dot color equals to color. How can I use this one so that I can be able to change the car styles to have a new color? So remember we had our constant here called car styles, but we don't want it to be like this. We just want something else for our car styles. Then we can use another function here, function generate generate styles. So generate styles takes in, for example, an object of styles, obj, and it's going to return a string of these objects. So color $, object dot color. Yes, what are objects? So if I may take a moment back and talk about objects a bit. So we have talked about functions and we are still talking about classes. These are one of their objects. A function is an object by default. So if you were to talk more about objects, if you recall yesterday we were talking about a user. He said, do I have that information here? Let me just confirm if I have it. Yeah, here it is. Yesterday we were saying let user first name equals to Dalmas, user last name equals Ogembo, and the user email equals to email at something.com. So what if you don't want to initialize or write all this? That's where objects come in correctly. So an object, you can just say let user equals to curly braces. Then you can be able to say first underscore name and say here Dalmas. and come down below, say last underscore name, and say Ogembo, and maybe the rest of the information goes there as it as it grows down. This way you won't be like, I'm going to define email somewhere else. You just say email, you do your email there, and everything works out well. So instead of you just defining everything separately on their own line, you could do something called an object that takes in different properties. So first name is an object property, last name is an object property, that's the property for the user, age is a property for user also, and you notice if you hover there it will tell you this is a property, the type comes in front here, that's a number. I hover over email and it says it's a string. Hover over first name, it says it's a string. If I were to do here a few more things like likes coding, let me do an underscore coding. I say true. That's another property. And if I hover over there, it's going to say likes coding. And how to access these properties from an object, you just go ahead and say, for example, console.log the user, yes, dot first name. So that's how you access properties from an object. So this is an object. And as I said, functions and classes are objects also. So if I were to come here and copy that and say console, oh, I have not console logged this one, moment. So user.firstname, if I were to come here, it's going to say Dalmas. If I were to come here and change user.age, it's going to automatically change it to 24. So that's how it goes: user, property, and value. So to define an object is you let user or const user equals to, you open your curly braces and immediately decide start adding different properties. And after each property, you do a comma. If you remove the comma, the intelligence of VS Code is going to tell you, oh, there's an error at last name. So you need to fix it by adding a comma at the end of the first property. So last name is another property for user. Then I'm going to add the value, then comma. Age same, value, comma, email same, comma, and if I hover over like coding, you will notice it's saying a boolean. So I hover, yeah, so that is how you do properties. So user.age gives us that, likes coding, and in fact it's going to tell you all the properties. If you just do like user dot, it's going to give you all the properties that you have defined in here. So that's for properties. So I'm going to do age. So those are the ones I'm using here. So down here, when I'm doing my generate styles function, it's going to take in an object. And this object, it's going to have like my object. Let me do a multi-line comment. My object here, uh, generate styles params. It's going to have this. The obj is going to contain color, maybe background. It's also going to contain maybe the other properties of CSS. I believe you know them: color, background, box shadow. I'm not going to list them because if you have gone through CSS, you at least know. So for now, I'm just going to have color. Let me add background in for this use case, and also uh, text decoration like that. So I could do the text decoration like that, or to be secure, text underscore decoration. So obj.color, that's for the color. I'm going to do a semicolon. It's like writing normal CSS, but as a string. Then I'm going to do another style here called background. And what I'm going to pass in here is obj $ curly braces obj dot background. Then I'm going to do another one, semicolon. That was text decoration, text. I believe that one will work. And I'm going to say $sign obj dot text underscore decoration. So that's how we could pass in some values to a number of values. But sometimes you could say, okay, I don't want to pass values in as an object. I'm going to just pass in as standalone attributes, background, then we have text, decoration. Still this one is going to work. There's no harm. You just replace obj dot here to color like that. But let me go back to obj and show you how to pass in like a lot of data at once without like separating them. So obj.color, obj.background, and obj.text decoration. This is normal styling. Reason as to why I've chose to do this is to allow me like have custom styles for each of these. So for my car styles, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change that one to generate styles. And I'm going to pass in the curl braces. Now, this is how you create an object. As I said, when I was creating the user object above here, I did pass in curl braces first. Then I'm going to say the first thing I'm going to pass in is the color, like that. And if I do that, then I can be able to say I want the color to this car, the car's color. So this dot color. If I save and go back to my driving, I didn't initiate color. So if I click forward, it's saying my car Lexus is driving forward, but somehow the color has not been applied. Reason being, when we were defining our new car here, the constructor says we need to pass in color. Then come here and just say comma, like a normal function, and I say the color I want to use here is blue, like that. If now I come, if you look at our car now, it's saying car name is Lexus and the color is blue. I click forward, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. You might notice that blue color there. What about the rest of these other objects here? We have background and text decoration. You could do the same. Come here, pass in more attributes. I'm going to say BG and text decoration like that. And here this dot bg equals bg, this dot text decoration equals to the text decoration that is going to be passed in. Then in my generate styles function, I'm going to just go ahead of color. Since this is an object, let me just like do that for visibility, do that and do that. So this is an object we are passing in to this function. Then I can be able to come here and say comma. The next one we were to pass in is the text decoration, giving me auto completion. Text decoration like that equals to this dot text decoration. Then the other one is the background. So background colon equals to this dot bg. So we have passed in more properties, text decoration and bg. Then I can come here and I say my text decoration is going to be a strike through, yes. And one more thing to pass in here is we have said strike through, and I can say the background. Let's use a visible background like white smoke. So if I save that and I come here and I click forward now, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. And strike through, white smoke, they are not working. They have not been generated to the car class. So you might need to go back and know why they are not working. So here I said for my background, this should be the background, copy and I confirm that that's the right thing. Text decoration, copy and I confirm that's the right thing. So I can be able to just go down to my code here and I see strike through, it's not working. Let me change this one to underline. Maybe it's going to work. Save. If I click forward, still not working. So come here and change the background color to red. Save. Not working. So these things happen. I can say for sure I don't know why they are not working. Somebody has seen and back, they can raise it up. So I said my car is that my color is blue. That's my car color BG, and the text decoration passed in them there. Am I supposed to use here semicolon? That might be a good question to ask. Control Shift Tab. I go back to this format and look at it. Yeah, they're using semicolons. So I believe I'm right up to that point. So let me just confirm why they're not working. Down console.log generate styles, but it only returned the color. Can I change this color to something else and see whether it's working? Yeah, if I change the color, it's working, but the rest of the properties are not working well. I don't understand why they should do that. Color, text decoration. Can it be need to do maybe color here? Nope, nope. Okay, I can't really take my time here to solve this not working. Let me just continue with what I was presenting. So that's I was to do for my cars. Let's say I have another car. That's for the Lexus. My car Lexus is driving forward. Let's say we have another car type Toyota. Is it Toyota car? Yes. Let's use that one. So I'm going to introduce another car. Just come below my car here, my Lexus car, and say const Toyota Toyota equals to new car, and this car is a Toyota, like that. It's going to have a color of green. Is not visible in our current view. Which one is it? Can I use pink? Yes. And the next thing it wants is the art text decoration, and also one more thing it wants is the background color. I'm going to force it to green. So I have another car called Toyota. How can I drive Toyota? I'm currently driving a Lexus, but I want to also drive a Toyota forward. Then the best thing to do is just come down here and do Toyota dot drive forward. So if I save that one, go here, click forward, you will notice my car Lexus is driving forward and my car Toyota is driving forward. So the good thing about using classes is that it will allow you create multiple instances, for example, of a user. This is just a car. You could do for a user, a file, and another object that you want to be repeated down through. So if you have a game and this game has different cars, this is how you will do it. Lexus, new car, type Lexus. Toyota, new car, Toyota. I don't know. Ingine ni gani tunajua. So I do here Prado equals new car, and this is going to be a Prado, comma, it's going to be of color white, comma, it's going to have a text decoration of underline. Those are not working. It's going to have a background color of red. So I save that, come here, click that. I only see my car Lexus is driving forward, but I also want to be able to see Prado doing the same. So I can just come here, say Prado dot drive forward. So save that, click there. You will notice my car Lexus is driving forward, my car Toyota is driving forward, and my car Prado is driving forward. So that's how you use. I'll just duplicate this one quickly for the rest of the functions. Like that, like that. And let me start with this one, drive right, press there. drive left, copy and replace there. Come here to drive backward, copy and replace there. Yeah, so if I click forward, it's going to drive forward. All the three cars are going to drive forward. Backward, all the three cars are going to drive backward. You might notice they are all in red because we didn't like add the rest of the styles to these other functions. So I can just copy from there, maybe up to there. Is that one right? Console.log. Yes. Paste, paste, and paste. So if I click forward, all the three cars are going to drive forward. Click backward, all the three cars are going to drive backward. That is my car Prado is driving backward. Drive left, all of them are going to drive left, and the right the same. They are going to drive right. Okay, hii kitu kwanza inabo. I only want console.logs. Where are we? Can I like have a single view? Not bubbles, not that, like that only. Okay, so that's how you do, right? So when do you use classes? Classes are very good when you have a lot of data that is looks similar, has a similar functionality, and you don't want like to have those data have different its own like. For example, you could do a function for a Lexus that does all this, that like drives forward, drive backward, drive left. But if you don't want to do that, you only need to do a car class. Then for that car class, initiate it with different properties. That way you will have a different, like a car with different values, with different properties, with different, yes. So that's where you use classes. So here we said drive forward, drive back, drive forward, drive yeah, Toyota Lexus drive forward, Toyota drive forward, and Prado drive forward. At the same time, we just did that one, and they were all driving at the same time. What if that's not the case? I want to have my cars driving separately. How can I achieve that? So I'm going to introduce another thing that is in our list here called conditions. Always conditions. Oh, yes. Here we have done some classes. I'm going to introduce conditional statements or conditions, and then conditions together with comparison operations like comparing data or comparing two objects together, comparing numbers, comparing what we have, data specifically, and conditions at the same time. So how can I quickly do that? So for my conditions, let's say I have this single function. This is a global function, in fact, and I cannot access this drive forward function directly out here. For example, if I didn't have this function like that, I can't just say come here and run this function drive forward. Let me do it here. I do that. If I do that, you will be able to see an error. Drive forward is not defined. So this one creates something called like a sort of function closure. Anything that is defined within these curly braces of the car class cannot be accessed out here directly unless you reference it using the new keyword and also calling it directly. For example, here, for us to access the drive forward function, what we did is create a new car and call that drive forward from the car itself, Lexus dot drive forward. That's where we got our function, or how we called our function. So you cannot like say I want to access the drive forward direct. No, you have to initiate that using the new keyword. That's how you call these classes using the new keyword. Then you can now call the rest of the functions that are defined inside here. So let's go to the conditions and comparison. So we have this grid here. This is for forward, backward, left, and right. I only want to drive forward, if I click this button, I only want to drive the Lexus only, not the rest of the cars. Then I can be able to come here and say this drive forward function is going to take in another parameter. It's going to take in the car parameter or the car name parameter, I can say. So then using the car name, I can be able to drive the Lexus only forward. How? Copy the, if I say if the car name, no, this one here, car name equals to, how do you do equals to in JavaScript? Use three equal signs. If car name equals to Lexus, like that, then I only want to drive the Lexus car forward that way. If car name equals Lexus, drive that way. Then I can be able to check for the rest of the cars quickly. Just copy this and do that. If car name equals to Toyota, just drive the Toyota forward. If car name equals to Prado, then drive the Prado forward. Then I'm going to delete this from here. So this is like an advancement or added some salt to it. This is a condition. If 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 uh, if is used for conditional checking. So this one has to return to true. Like whatever you pass in here, even if it's 1 plus 1 equals to 2, it has to be true. Otherwise, if you did here 3, this one is not going to run. So let me go back. So if the car name equals to Lexus, then just drive forward, just the Lexus. If I save that, come here and hit forward, you will notice it's saying nothing, like nothing has been printed or logged out. Why? We didn't specify the car name when we called the function. So in your HTML, just go to your HTML and do single quotes and say Lexus. Remember, if you start your on click here using double quotes, then or the rest of the quotes you pass in here should be single quotes. If you use the single quotes out here, for example, like that, you'll notice it's saying, and let me do it correctly. You'll notice it's saying some error has occurred because it cannot pass, like read the quotes. So just interchange the quotes to double quotes here. That way it will be good. So if I save that, come here to my browser, click forward, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. So I also want to drive the other car backward. So I can just quickly copy this, paste it here, pass in your headings here. You'll just say H2 and say Lexus. Come here and say H2, say Sita Toyota, yes, Toyota. So change this one to Toyota, like that. So if I want to drive the Toyota forward, then I can click drive the Toyota forward. It's going to say my car Toyota is driving forward. Lexus, my car Lexus is driving forward. So you could do for the other car also, just copy this and change this one to Prado, and also change this one to Prado, like that, save. So I can be able to click here. Now my car Prado is driving forward, my car Toyota is driving forward, and my car Lexus is driving forward. If I click backward, it's just going to print everything out, because here we have not like done the same thing that we did up here checking the car name. So that's how you could pass in parameters from HTML. So if it's just a number you want to pass in, for example, here we say this drives at let's say 120 kilometers per hour. Just come here to your car drive, pass in that parameter, that's the speed, and say I'm going to use this speed forwards. It's not working. Let's add another console log here, console.log, and say car name. So I'm going to use backticks. they are called backticks. Hizo vitu zenye ziko hapo kwa tilde. I'm going to use here backticks to concatenate my string like that, and I'm going to say $, cal braces, car name, uh, space is driving forward at $, cal braces, speed, then km/h, save. So if I click Lexus, it's going to say my car Lexus is driving forward. Lexus is driving forward at undefined kilometers per hour. So it's saying undefined because under the Lexus forward button or forward function, we didn't define the speed there. So come here to your HTML. I only defined that it's at the Prado. If I click on the Prado forward, it's going to say my car Prado is driving forward, but something still is missing. It has not printed. Oh, yeah, it has not printed the speed. So let me just copy this here. So remember, if this condition is executed to true, CANM equals to Lexus. If it's executed to true, it's only going to run code that is inside here, this code only. It's not going to touch anything else. That's why the Prado didn't react to our click function. So if I click Prado forward, it's going to say Prado is driving forward at 120 kilometers per hour. So I want to, if I click Toyota also, it has to say Toyota is driving forward at some speed per hour. So I want to change this and define to something. I only need to pass in the speed from my button here, or pass in the right parameters. So I can just come here, say comma, I say 100, go to this other first one here, the Lexus, and maybe say 80. So if I click forward for Lexus, it's going to say Lexus is driving forward at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Toyota is driving forward at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. That's how you pass in parameters from the onClick property or onClick attribute, onClick attribute on each element. So onClick the function, then the right parameters. That's how you could do um, conditions. That's a condition if the first condition that we have covered or the operator that we have used is equal to. So let me quickly add the rest of the operators here. They are called equality check, equality operators, I believe. So let's just call them for now that way. I get the right term and tell you equality operations. So the operators of equality, they are not really equality because actually it's this one that only checks for equality equals to. And so I can say comparison operations here. The rest of the operators can be these ones. Do a multi-line comment. We have equality that we have checked out. That is this one using 3 equal signs, or you could use something called 2 equal signs, but I don't encourage you using the 2 equal signs because it might result to unexpected errors. For example, if I were to just come here and say if 2 equals to 2, console.log, 2 is equal to string 2. So if I save that, it's going to say 2 is equal to string 2. But literally, 2, this is a string, is not equal to this other one. So if I quickly change that one to that one, 3 equal signs, we are not going to have 2 equals to 2. Let me just do an else here to confirm that. Else, console.log, where can't I copy this and paste it there? And 2 is not equal to string 2. So 2 is not equal to string 2. So what is the difference between this one, the 2 equal signs and the 3 equal signs? The 2 equal signs, it's just going to, like, this is like a shallow comparison, shallow, it's not going to take care of the types, because 2 here in this case is a number, and this other 2 here in quotes it's a string. So a number cannot be equal to a string by default. So it's not going, the two equal signs are not like taking into consideration uh, the type of the data being compared or the objects being compared. It's just going like, oh, just compare them shallowly. If they look alike, then they are true. This is deep comparison or a deep equality. I have forgotten the right term to deep. It's just going to take care of the types. For example, 2 is a number and 2 is a string, taking completely the type into consideration. This is a number and this is a string, they cannot be equal. So always use 3 equal signs if you really want to check and confirm whether it's truly this. So use 3 equal signs. So the 3 is going to fail and say 2 is not equal to 2. So that's equality. We have the other one that is going to check for like if two conditions are the same or two conditions match or they do not match. Do not match. So we have only checked for that. But if I wanted to check if 2 is not equal to 2, this number 2 is not equal to the string number 2, then I could use another one called that one. I've added something here, an exclamation mark, then equal signs. So if I come here and change this one exclamation mark that way, it's going to say 2 equals equal to string 2. Why has it passed and this other one failed to pass? So if you ask yourself that, then the answer is quite easy. You realize that I'm checking 2 is not equal to 2. 2 is not equal to 2. And this one, 2, the 3 equal signs are going to check 2 equals to 2, of which will fail. But this one, 2 is not equal to 2. It's going to say 2 is not equal to 2. 2 equals to 2. So this one is not equal, does like check they are not the same. They are not the same. So I didn't use them here, only used the equal sign. And also you could also use here something like that. So they have similar use cases, but now it will be more confusing if you just do sort of this shallow comparison. That's for equality and not equality. They match, they don't match. Then I have another, is it a condition? There's another operator that is checks for two things, and or am I going in the wrong direction? Yes, so if I want to check if car name equals to Lexus and the speed is greater than, yes, they are coming. Yes, so we have another one that is greater than, greater than. The greater than looks like that, just the closing angle bracket, the larger than sign. We have another one that is smaller than. Oh, not greater than. This is greater. We have smaller, which is that like the smaller, the opening angle bracket. We have greater than, which is usually the that greater than sign and equals to. Nope. Sorry guys, I have confused the things here. So this checks for greater than. Yeah, this one is right. This one is greater than, like that, and this one is smaller than, like that. This one is greater than or equal to. So greater than or equal to, you do a sign like that. Then we have smaller than or equal to, which is smaller than or equal to, like that. So just an angle. Now this looks like an arrow function but facing backward. This one is not an arrow function, so you start with the. So where do you use this? So they have different use cases or where they're used. I'll show you them quickly before 6 minutes are out. I believe you are not going to touch the to-do application today. It will come tomorrow. This has taken longer. So we have checked for equals to, we have checked not equal to. Where did the other one go? Should be that way. I have also checked the greater than, checked the smaller than, greater than or equal to, smaller than or equal to. So we have others. For example, if I want to have two conditions together, this is a first condition, and also want to check if the other speed is larger than, I could do another condition called and speed is greater than 50. So how can I write this and? You always use two ampersands. This is called an ampersand. Layman's language, it's called the and sign. And sign. So if you do and signs here, two of them, they are going to be turned into an and. So this one is going to confirm if the kernel is Lexus and also the speed is larger than 50. If I save that, come and click on Lexus, it's going to do the same. It's going to print out Lexus and the speed and the speed. But if we were to change this one to say less than 50, save, and I click that one, you notice it's not going to print out anything. It's because the speed is not less than 50. It's actually greater than 50 according to the speed we passed in here, which is 80. So this is comparison of numbers. This smaller than, larger than is the comparison of numbers only. So, but this equal signs is for comparison of booleans and strings only. You can't compare objects. So an object, for example, is, so this equal signs is for, let me just continue writing my notes here, for strings and booleans and numbers, and the numbers, yes. It can compare all the three, strings, booleans, and the numbers. But if we come and reach at this point here where we are going to compare like larger than, I'm only going to compare numbers here. There is a good reason as to where I specifically say you only use them to compare numbers. So these ones are only used to compare numbers. The greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. They are only used to compare numbers because you can't compare strings if a string is larger than or smaller than the other, though you can literally do that, but it might not give you the result you expect. For example, uh, let variable equals to, yes, so let variable equals to Dalmas, and I come here and I say if variable equals to Dalmas, I'm going to console.log, let me just one console.one and say variable is Dalmas. This one is going to work out well. It's saying variable is Dalmas. But the moment I change this one to variable is less than Dalmas, like that, it's not going to work. If I do less than or equal to, it's going to work. Literally, I've compared two strings together. This string here variable, and if I do here add another s, come here, it's still saying is less than or equal to Dalmas. Yes, variable is Dalmas. But if I change this one to larger than or equal to, it's not going to work. Reason being, at this particular point, it's not comparing the strings themselves, but rather the lengths of the strings, like how large the string is, the string size. This Dalmas only has 6 letters. This one has 7 letters. So it's comparing the length of the strings. So it's taking the variable dot length and comparing it with this one's length. So this one is 6, literally 6, and this one is 7. Oh, a moment, I've confused the things there. 7, change this one to 6. So the first one, Dalmas, has 6 letters, and this one has 7, and the 6 is greater than or equal to 7. That's a lie. 6 is not greater than 7, neither is it equal to 7. But 6 is less than or equal to 7. That one works. So whenever you are comparing strings, always use equals to signs, and don't use the greater than signs, greater than or equal to signs, because at this particular point, it's not going to compare the variables or comparing the strings. It's going to compare the lengths, and that is not what you want to compare. You just want to compare if Dalmas equals to Dalmas, or if Lexus equals to Lexus. Here I won't come here and say like is greater than Lexus, no, or is less than or equal to Lexus, no. I'm basically going to compare strings. Keep in mind in that. Another thing I said you can't compare is you can't compare objects together. So let's say cons user one, let user one equals to that, let user two equals to that. You might ask, why am I doing user one an object? This is an object, and this is an object. Let users equals to curly braces. So if I were to come here and say if I'm going to change the message here to user one is equal to user two. So if I were to come here and compare user one and user two, user one equals to user two, like that, we notice nothing is happening here. Why is it not happening? So user one equals to user two, except they look the same. User one and the user two, just empty objects. This is an empty object, this is an empty object, and this is called an array. It's an empty array. So why do we have these empty objects not equaling to each other? Why are they not equal? But if I were to remove that one, still not working. Why is it that the case? And that's why I said you can't compare objects like this. So the reason as to why I said so is that objects are not like strings. So let string, here is Dalmas. Objects are not like strings. They don't, like, they're referenced. Is it in memory or out of memory? This is tough to explain. So this, I'm unable to pick the right explanation terms. But these ones, like, they have some allocated space in memory, and these ones are really tough. I've forgotten the right terms there. Do they take space in memory? Good. The best thing is to ask Google why uh, are these why are objects um, why are empty objects not equal to each other. So where are two empty JavaScript functions or plain objects not equal to each other? So Google has directed us to something called Stack Overflow. So if you see Stack Overflow, just dive into it, like go follow the link. It will give us more information about it. The reason as to why I've decided to do a search is I also don't understand the right terms to use, so it's better to ask somebody who knows. So this guy said var a equals to function func and var b equals to this function. So it's failing to work. So the first answer, or the highly upvoted answer here, says functions are nothing else than objects. So it all comes back to comparison of two objects, and then according to MDN, uh-oh, So here, according to MDN, we are in MDN link, expressions and operators. So this keyword refers to a special property of an execution context. Literals, basic null, boolean, number, and string are literals. Array initializer, literal syntax. Object initializer, literal. This is a large list of things down here that you wanna follow through, which is not like a direct thing. It's really long, so you can go through that one. So, and also the full quality comparison algorithm is described here, and one is obvious. So by design, objects are always compared using reference, which is kind of a pointer to the address in memory. If it points to the same, it will return true. If not, it will return false. False is produced. The second answer says this is because functions are objects in JavaScript and you cannot test objects for equality like this. So each is giving their answers, but whatever they're saying is that you can't compare two objects together. Let me try to see. They are not giving us the right answer, but this guy here tried to give us something. So by design, objects are always compared using reference. So in this case, these ones are compared using reference. In that manner, it means these have two different references. Like they are not on the same reference as compared to this string that has the same reference. Or is it reference? No, not the reference, but has this. It's like the same in memory. Tough to explain really. So just know, don't compare objects. I'll get to you with a complete explanation why this empty object is not equal to this empty object here in the next class. So that's about comparison. This is the list of you can do about comparison, but I've added something here called and. So I want to compare if the car name and the speed match to true. So for this condition to run, the two conditions, car name equals to Lexus and the speed is less than 50, have to match to true for it to work out. So for this case, if I click Lexus, nothing works. But if I change this speed to is larger than 50, then if I click forward, it's going to work and print out what we expect. So this is and this has to be like exact. Like they have this condition has to result to true, and this one has to result to true. So speed is larger than 50, yes, that's true. And the car name equals to Lexus, yes, that's true. But there's another one called or. So how do I write or? Or I do using two pipes. Hizo slashes mbili zinakaa straight. These are called pipes. Two of them, they're going to check if this one is true or this one is true, then return to true. So click there, it's going to work because both of them are true otherwise. But if this one failed like that, and I click there, it's going to work still because I just said if this one is working or this one, just proceed. So this one or this one, then I can just proceed. That's or and that's and. So I can just quickly write them here and use two ampersands or use two pipes, those ones. So if you want to check this or that, or check this and this, then that's how you use and this is or. I have not added the list here completely because it's kind of a long list na haiko kwa kichwa fully. But these are the most common and the ones you are going to use. The rest, they will come as you go on and they will force you like to use them. So about comparison and operators, maybe I'll share a link fully that explains them all and you will use them to learn more about them. I've not like done examples of this, but go ahead, do examples in an empty like JS file. Just go to your files here, do a new file, and say just call it name operators.js. Come to your index file here and link it here. Say operators. Is it operators? It's bad. Operator.js, like that. So if I come to operator.js and I want to check for greater than, I can just start if 2 is greater than 3, console.log 2 is greater than 3. Come next, if I save that, you can be able to see 2 is not equal to string 2. Let me comment that one out. It's kind of giving us problems. You see, uh-oh, 2 is not equal to string 2, something to do with that one. Find it and comment it out. Yeah, we don't have any logs out. Oh, something else. We don't have operator.js for page not found. You need to like link it correctly for it to work. So let me confirm why it's not working. Come to my file here, dot forward slash. Oh, should be in code. Move it back to the code. Yeah. So it's connected. We don't have a 4 page. So it has not printed out this one. But if I were to say if 2 is less than 3, I can be able to say console.log 2 is less than 3. And then this one is going to result to true and it's going to print out 2 is less than 3. Also, you can just change them here or 5 is greater than 6. So if I do that, it's still going to say 2 is greater than 3, but it's because I used the or. So this one said to true, and this one resulted to false, but true is there, so there is a true somewhere. So it says, okay, go ahead and print out the thing. But if I were to use and, it has to make sure that this one is true and the second condition is true. So we have nothing. So just go ahead and do this kind of exercise. You will learn more about these operators, and they are very, okay, not many, but kind of a number of them. So just go ahead and test them out to learn about them. We shall use them as we go on. Yes, somebody has unmuted. Maybe you have a question or something to add on. Yes, a hand. Yes, go ahead. Is it a question? Yes, John. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Mm. All right. Okay. That's right. I'll help you through. Any questions? Any other questions or additions? Because we need like to let others leave. Time is over. Okay. If there are no further questions, then I can call it a class today, and I'll share the